084-510-378.
Raising teenagers can be really difficult, and not doing right can set them up for failure into their adulthood. Involved parenting coach Victorine Mbongshu gives tips on how to raise teenagers. You are listening to the Mario Mukonda Show on Salam Media. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, Victorine.
Good morning. Good morning to you and the listeners. How are you doing today?
Well, thanks. And yourself?
I'm not coping.
Why not?
I'm raising two teenagers.
Oh, yes. Well, you already there, so you are the best person to give us tips on how we can successfully raise teenagers. I know my child is only 2 years old right now, so we have quite a journey to get through before we get to the teenage years. All right. So first of all, why do teenagers behave or act the way that they do?
You know what? I must say to you, thank you so much for leading with that question, because I was wondering how I'm going to have a conversation on how to raise teenagers. I didn't know the beginning. But it's hormonal changes. That is a simple reason. They have a lot of changes that are happening in them, both physically, psychologically, and intellectually. Not both, sorry. Physically, intellectually, and psychologically. In the sense that their cognitive development, which is the way they understand things, has a complete change from childhood to maturity. So to maturity or adulthood. So before we even carry on, the teenage stage is a stage where a child gives away childhood and takes up adulthood. Yet they are not considered as adults.
Your network is not great. It's very slow. I think.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but it's breaking down. It's breaking slowly. I think we should try taking this over the phone instead.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Wait. Please continue. I've been notified that we should continue. Please continue.
Okay. Yeah, so I was saying, to begin with the definition, teenagehood is a period where a child has given away being a child and has taken up roles that belong to adults, yet they are not considered as adults. So they struggle a lot with themselves psychologically, in the sense that they really do not belong. Because if you look at it, teenage is a passage. It's not something that you stay in for a long time. And when they are kids, we don't prepare them to say, look, you're going to pass through this stage. So psychologically, they struggle with that. Physically, they struggle with their body development. The signals, some of the most prominent signals of teenagehood is development of breast for women, genitals for men, pubic hair for both of them. And they start growing even their body parts, their voice changes, their hair even changes, everything in them changes. So they also struggle to grapple with that. And then intellectually, their brain develops in a way that it's near maturity and yet not matured. So as much as they think that they are old enough or big enough to make certain decisions, they still don't have a developed sense of judgment. So those are the components, amongst other things, that only nature can define. Those are the components that put together then make teenagehood so difficult a time. The confusion that the children face, and the confusion that the parents, remember, and the caregiver also face in their difficulty in accepting that the baby is grown so much, the baby needs independence.
But some people will still call them my baby, even if into their 40s and 50s. But anyway, you mentioned that we don't teach them about teenagehood when they are younger. So when should we start teaching them about being a teenager?
Marie, it's the same like asking me, when did your mom start teaching you how to be a wife? There are certain things in life that you really cannot teach. People have to master when they're at that level. As much as you can prepare them to say, at teenage, you're going to menstruate, at teenage, you're going to ejaculate, at teenage, your voice is going to change, they will not grapple those concepts until they happen. So we can prepare them from when they are in their teenage ages, and the teenage ages is between 8 to 12. You prepare them, because remember also these days some children reach maturity very early. Some
Mm,
children are pubic by the time they are 8 or 9. Some children are menstruating and even getting pregnant these days,
mm,
ejaculating. I mean, in my courses where I do sexual talks for teenagers, I get 10-year-old who've masturbated more than 5 times already at the age of 10. So we have to really not fix an age, but go with the child's level of maturity and also the signals around you that the child is giving you. Be steadfast, respond to questions that your child asks honestly, because those are the questions that actually prepare them for the unprepared, that for the things that you don't see coming or you are waiting to do when they are teenagers.
mhm. And what mistakes do we make as parents?
Communication, the biggest mistake that every family makes, even the caregivers, the schools, every environment, the policy makers, is communication. Because, there are certain policies out there that actually guide teenagers, and teenagers don't know about it. So even at the level of policies, there are very little communications for our children. And it is impacting a lot on how the children develop, again, psychologically, cognitively, and even physically. And to add to communication, the biggest impact of it is a withholding of information. Um, a child or a human being would never function um, well if appropriate information is not given to them at the right time. We are now leaning on schools and the media to educate our children for us, and that is actually failing. And another mistake is that of recognizing, I mean, you said it before, that of recognizing the fact that a teenager is growing into an individual that has evolved from the stage of being a child. And the one thing, Mariam, that I want our parents to know is that teenagers lean more towards their friends, towards their peers, than they do
Mm,
towards their family. So we need to create that space for them to learn from the dangers that the world has, because we protect them from this danger. And most
mm,
often, we have teenagers that are not psychologically developed because we had protected them from their friends, from learning from peers. But
mm,
it's
mm,
basically that stage where they go to their peers. So in one of the researches that I worked on, at teenage age, at the early teenage age, which is the most difficult teenage age for most parents, children actually migrate. They leave their family communication environment and they communicate more with their friends. They forget the values that their parents have taught them and they go to their friends. But before you know it, towards mid-teenage, or so the early teenage is between 10, early adolescent is between 10 and 15. So that is the age where they lean toward, they start realizing, oh, they can actually make friends, they can depend on their friend, they can talk to their friends can keep their secrets, so they
mm,
lean towards their friends. And then by the time they are between 15 and 17 or 18, they are back to their parents. They start talking to their parents, because that is a time where they start understanding again that no, I don't just need friends, I need romantic relationships. So they start falling genuinely in love, not the love that your 2-year-old would tell you that she's in love, or your 8-year-old, but now genuinely they start falling into love. They start getting emotional struggles. So they look up to their parents now, because their psychological knowledge, or sorry, the knowledge they have is that their parents have gone through this. So they start
mm,
talking to their parents. So when you have an early or mid teen, sorry, make sure that you embrace them and you give them education on relationship. You guide them. And then when they are now again after 17, which is a late teen, 17 to 19, they again leave their parents, because now they have fallen in love, and most of them are no longer virgins. They are now in real romantic relationships. So they start confiding now in their romantic partners. Even their friendships fall apart, because they keep very few friends. Any friend now has to be a friend that could be involved in the romantic relationship in a way or another, and that is what leads them into young adulthood. And parents have to understand this. They have to understand the stages. They have to watch their children develop. Remember, every child develops differently, so it doesn't apply to every child, but those are just the guidelines that I can give.
mhm. And what type of relationship should we have with our teenagers?
An open relationship. It's
Mhm.
extremely difficult coming from me because I'm actually at a stage where I have two teenagers. One of my teens, it's so smooth. I didn't really realize that she's now a teenager. And my son is not so smooth. I saw all the signs of teenagehood coming on with my son. But the one thing that I do is number one, I keep the line of communication open. And number two, I try my best to reassure him. You know, reassure them, have open communication. They are not that open. Some of them would not talk to you. I'm very lucky that my husband and I, we're very lucky that our children talk to us. For that, it's fine. So we understand what they are going through at this stage. But not every parent, not every home is that lucky. So make
Mm.
sure you strike communications. You know, there was another research paper I came across where teenagers were complaining that their parents don't talk to them. And the researcher asked them, why don't you talk to your parents? And the
Mm.
children were like, no. By the way it is, the parent is the adult. They are the ones who always ignite the conversation. And when we sit together eating, they don't talk. We have quiet dinner time, and after that, everybody retires to their rooms. So the
Mm.
lesson here is parents should try and strike the conversations and talk about stupid things. Don't make it formal. Talk about their hair, talk about their look, talk about their body changes. Talk about, don't also be selfish and talk about you or talk about when I was a teenager, because that is one thing that my children brought to my husband and I, our attention. Why is it that you people always refer to us and compare us when you were teenagers? You know, so try and avoid those. Don't always be self centered. Talk to them about their times, talk to them about bullying. Ask them if they are bullies, ask them if they've been bullied. Ask them if they steal small items in school. Ask them if their items are getting missing. You know, small things, and you will be amazed at how much a child would have to tell you, how much they've been bottling up and struggling to let go, but cannot because you're not open.
Networks are
Marianne,
crazy today. Yes, it's sorry about that. It's just our network is crazy today. But
I think
let's talk quickly about discipline. How do you discipline a teenager?
in the same way you discipline every child. You know, teenagers like respect, they adore respect. Discipline them in the same way you had disciplined them when they were young, but do it more respectfully. In the sense that I'll give you an example in my house. When my first our first child is a boy and he is 15 now. When he was 13, he was a typical teenage boy. He wouldn't bath, he wouldn't do anything, and he would want to be on technology for most of the day or any time that he can. And we found it extremely difficult to get him off technology to the extent where we started disconnecting Wi-Fi in the house. But I said to my husband, if we keep disconnecting Wi-Fi, we're actually depriving everybody of one person's behavior. So the best thing we do is let's take his own device away from him. And we got his device from him because he was grounded. He then turned to do the chores. So try and look at innovative ways through which you can handle the situation that is happening. Don't be harsh on them. Remember, they don't have control of themselves. They are going through hormonal changes. Are you there, Mariam? Mariam, how can the host leave me? Now I don't even know if I'm on Facebook or not. I don't know if I'm on air or not. Who can tell me? Mm. I cannot end the life. I don't know how to end it. So we're just gonna stay until Salam Media comes on. I cannot end the life. I don't know how to end it. So we're just gonna stay until Salam Media comes on. I cannot end the life. I don't know how to end it. So we're just gonna stay. I don't know if I should keep talking about how to parent teenagers. I'm waiting for a call from the radio station to tell me what to do. It's quite a difficult one, but the host got kicked out, and I'm now left on the screen. I can't end it. I don't know how to. It wasn't recorded from my side, so there is nothing I can really do. I'm trying to get hold of them in the back, and my person is. It's not even ringing at all. So a very difficult situation on a day like this. What do I do? I can't end it. Oh my God. Yeah. The weather in Johannesburg is terrible.